go right to preliminary action. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda as submitted or amended.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2018 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 we're going to go to the consent agenda, the entire thing, right, Debbie?
Mm-hmm.
So items 3.1 through items 3.8. 4.3, I'm sorry, 4.3. I see. I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report, the financial report, the consideration of claims, the pay the schedule of claims, the transportation report, the cafeteria report, our BOCE services a commitment for the 2018-19 school year as recommended by the business manager and superintendent, the BOCE's RIC bids with non-general fund dollars during the 18-19 school year as recommended by the business manager and superintendent, the Hamilton Public Library proposition to accept the following request from the Hamilton Public Library to submit their proposition to the ballot of at the May 18th, 2018 election. 15th, sorry. The surplus agreement or equipment, which is a motion to surplus excess technology equipment deemed unusable by the Director of Technology and to discard what cannot be put through public sales recommended by the superintendent. The extracurricular advisors to approve the appointment of Paul Capistato as set to sign for the spring musical How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying as recommended by the director and superintendent. The spring coaches to approve the appointment of Dan Martin as the modified baseball coach for the 17-18 spring season at 4.5 of step 7, and also to approve Matthew Martin and Dave Campbell as unpaid coaches for modified baseball as recommended by the interim athletic director and superintendent. And a motion to approve the following volunteers for the strategic plan implementation team as recommended by the superintendent: Travis Ames, Amy Jerome, Johanna Bossard, Heather Giarlo, Michelle Payne, Chris Rogers, Bill Dowslin, Kevin Ellis, Jeff Morton, Dan Raines, and Pete Punzo. That's it.
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion on any of those items?
Yes, I just want to clarify. The surplus equipment, the goal is to put up for sale to the public anything that's usable and just get rid of whatever doesn't sell. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes. Most of that equipment is the stuff that was replaced with the infrastructure upgrade. So it's like
technical stuff.
10 or 12-year-old switches, things of that nature. Really old, like rack mountable. But anything that could have value, we can attempt to sell for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5.1, teacher participation. We have Ms. Victoria Kowalski and Mr. Ryan Bain presenting their summer curriculum projects, curriculum development and mapping for visual art K-8 and art 9-12.
Yep.
Cheers.
Should we have two on, or just one? Are they already on? One? Which one's this one?
They'll light up on the round.
Wait, we should.
There you go.
I don't know. No, it's, I don't know, maybe it's just, can you see it?
Hit the switch just left of the circle.
Oh, yay, okay, that's good. Perfect. Okay, so I'm Victoria Kowalski, and I teach pre-K through 6th grade art this year.
Ryan Bain, I teach 7 through 12 this year.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Oh, sorry, 17.
So we requested summer curriculum hours. We wanted to create an up-to-date and sequential curriculum. We're both, relatively new, and we'd really like to build the art program up. So we thought it was really important in a building where K-12 is together that we work together. Things that I do with the elementary are going to be the basis for what Ryan does with them once they get into, higher middle school and high school studio art courses. So when we begun working on our curriculum, we wanted to have some goals set for ourselves. We wanted to vertically align the curriculum maps for K through 12, including like our advanced studio and art 1, 2, and 3. We wanted to correlate those with the New York State Visual Art Standards, which are adopted from the National Core Art Standards. We wanted to introduce grade level appropriate content and techniques, to give students the opportunities to experiment with a multitude of art materials, and we wanted to create an environment that allows for creativity and individual expression. And we wanted to utilize technology as a means for learning, creating, and documenting artwork.
Perfect, thanks. So looking at the standards, we're kind of like lucky enough this year, or this summer, to have the last kind of leg of New York State standards before they re-updated them, and so they made them really beautiful right as we were done with our curriculum, and much easier to read right when we were done with our curriculum. But I think it, overall it was really great. So when you look at the standards, there's 4 main breakdown points. There's to create, connect, present, and respond. And so looking up at the projector, this will be under creating, and so they broke it down, and this is the new one for New York State that they re-put together, so it's nice and beautiful. It's easier to look at. Pre-K through 12, and it goes all the way, so pre-K through 12. So looking at Studio 1, I aligned them to proficient. Studio 2, I aligned them to accomplished, and then Studio 3, I aligned them to advanced. And each lesson has its own standards pulled from New York State National to put in line with that.
So I'll be showing you my kindergarten curriculum map to start. So this is obviously at the very first end of the spectrum when they come into school. We focus a lot on, understanding what the art room is for and how to use materials safely, and then we get into basic lines, basic shapes, and basic color, and then through that we start to, make more complex things using those lines and shapes. So how do you take a circle and a triangle and a zigzag line and turn that into a bird? So I have some examples of artwork. So I focus a lot on imagination and creativity as well. So once you can make something out of those lines and shapes and colors, how can you tell a story about that? What can you imagine? So like the middle one, we did this blue dog project, and we looked at all these paintings of this blue dog, and we imagined all the places that he could be or she could be and what the dog could be doing. And then so these are all examples this year of kindergarten. This is kind of further down, so this is now entering middle school, 6th grade. At this point, the kids are more advanced in their skills and their abilities, and I can kind of push them even more so. We focus a lot on realism, how to make something look realistic, how to give it value and depth, and having really great, excellent craftsmanship. And I have some examples. And then we do a lot of problem solving. So on the far left I have them do a recycled material sculpture, but it's, we talk about the problem of waste and what can we do about all the things that are thrown out in garbage and how can we remake that. And they look at a lot of images to base their drawings off of, so I can really get them to see what things look like so that when they create something, they're making it realistic.
So for Studio 1, I break them down into elements and principles of art for their course. And so for this just example, we were talking about shape and form, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. But it's broken down into essential questions, enduring understanding, vocabulary, and things like that. And then so VA colons like CR 1.2, so creating, presenting, responding, and connecting. I really try to pull at least one idea from every single one of those 4 categories into each lesson. So if you look at the next one, so shape and form, 2D versus 3D. We're trying a lot to incorporate technology, and so the images on the right, we did Snapchat self-portraits, so we did them like 18 by 24. And so we had them use Snapchat as a tool, and then we drew them in graphite. So understanding shape and how to take essentially like this 3D thing and draw it in 2D. And then on the left side, we're talking about forms, so 3, we used Google Arts and Culture, which we'll also talk about in a minute, to do research. We pulled a minimum of 3 images, combined those images into one drawing, and from that drawing, they carved a clay tile, and then from that clay tile, they cast paper. They made their own paper pulp, and they cast their paper, and they had to do a minimum of 3. So talking about shape and form for that. Thanks. And then Studio 2, curriculum map, same idea. I break Studio 2 down into disciplines and procedures of making different materials. So Studio 1 also goes through that, but Studio 2 goes more into that. So sculpture unit, some of the images that you'll see, they're the tape people that we saw from the beginning of the year, that a lot of you saw around the building. But really breaking the students down into like thinking about the bigger picture of stuff. For sculpture specifically this year and for this curriculum map, I think it's important for them to focus on what happens with artwork outside of the classroom. Why are we making art and how do people interact with that? And so that became really important for the sculpture unit that we did this year. So how do people contribute to awareness and understanding of their lives and the lives of their communities through art making? So how can we impact our learning community through art making? So the one on the left was in the upstairs stairwell, the middle one was in the library, then the right one was looking into Miss Seeger's classroom for a little while. She was kind enough to let us do that. So just some examples of like different ideas, and then I had them pull in additional elements too. So they had their tape person, they worked in groups, but they had to bring in something else as well.
Ryan and I also are piloting a new online art gallery this year for K through 12. We thought that, you know, things happen, kids lose art pieces. I think back to 2 years ago and I'm like, oh, I wish I still could see this one student piece. And so we found this program called Artsonia and we love it. I think it's free for everyone to use, and then parents can make like a fan club and send it to grandparents or aunts and uncles or older siblings, and then they can comment, which I'll show you. And then there is merchandise available for purchase. The price range is from $2.45 to up to $50. So it's a really nice price range for people who would want to buy things with their child's artwork, from postcards and keychains to T-shirts and art smocks. And so this is an example of what we see as teachers. So it also helps us with record keeping. Like I know if 2 kids didn't post theirs, it might mean they're not done yet. So it's really helpful for us to also look at this and see, what do I see here that's successful in the lesson? This was 4th grade, Keith Haring lesson. And then, what can I do differently next year that might make it more successful? So I've really enjoyed having it. And then this is an example of, I can see like all the comments and they're so cute. And so it's like, their grandparents who might live in a different state or not see them are like, this is so great. And then, so my elementary art room alone has raised over $100 that I can now put towards art supplies for my room. So it's really nice. I love it so much. And so far we've gotten really great parent feedback. Like people have come to me and just said how much they love seeing their kids work and that they have a bookmark or a keychain now. And so I really enjoyed this.
Cool. And I think so too, branching before I get into Google Arts and Culture for Artsonia, a really great way that I use it when I have my kids upload their artwork, I give them a prompt. It's different for every project, and they have to answer that prompt. The tile project I showed you, it was like a minimum of a 1-page response. So I think for me, at least, it's really important that brings in like a literacy component for them. It forces them to really think critically and write about the work that they make. I love doing in-class critique and talking about it. Not all students are cut out to talk in front of their friends, okay? And you learn that, right? And so I think that's a really great way for them to take some time and think and reflect on the work that they made and what we can do after that. And so, Google Arts and Culture. This is what Tori and I presented on at New York State Art Teachers Association this year. I've tried to incorporate it really heavily into our curriculum this year. There's a lot of really neat tools with it. We're actually bringing in some of the virtual reality goggles. We're going to lease them from BOCES for a week in May. And we're going to do virtual expeditions through Google Arts and Culture. So different museums, you can go different places, look at different things in virtual reality.
Yeah, I can show that.
So, yeah, and so you can search by essentially anything under the sun. Artist, medium, time period, color, a lot.
Yes, And you
It's-
can zoom in on things so big, like 100%. It's crazy.
So I think incorporating art history is always a challenge, and this has just been a really great tool, I think, for both of us this year. Essentially a way to like have one scholarly resource to really dig in deep and use well. So.
We really enjoyed it. Now we start closing. So we wanted to thank our principals, Bill Dowson and Kevin Ellis, for letting us do the summer curriculum work. It was so nice for me and Ryan to sit down and be like, all right, we're staying here forever. Let's figure out what we're going to do. And just to feel like we're starting with a really solid basis for our curriculums. And I also appreciate, we love going to NYSADA, which is the New York State Teachers Art Association conference every year. It means so much to us to be able to go there, and it really rejuvenates us, so we really appreciate that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to touch it.
Questions? Anyone?
Thank you so much to Mrs. Kowalski and Mr. Bain. That was wonderful. Okay, now we are at item 5.2 and our first opportunity for community participation. All right, we'll just move on to new business. Item 6.1. I need a motion to approve the appointment of Michelle Dye as a probationary. Oh, we're tabling this one? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, move to table this recommendation.
This first one? Okay. That's fine.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve Allison Forth and Mallory Buffalini as substitutes as recommended by the elementary principal and superintendent.
I'll move.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to rescind Alan Blindbury's retirement date from June 30th, 2018 and change to June 30th, 2019 as recommended by the business manager and superintendent. Discussion? All in favor? Okay. I need a motion to approve the recommendation of the committees on special education and preschool special education, and any discussion would happen in executive session.
I'll move. Second.
Okay, discussion takes place in executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't in
Michelle abstained.
But I shook my head no, so
Okay. Item 6.3, I need a motion to approve Jean Brown as the chair inspector, Joan and Bruce Prindle, and Jennifer and John Dushinsky as inspectors and clerks for the annual school district budget vote and election on May 15th, 2018, from noon to 8 p.m. as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Thank you to all of them for doing this.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I need a motion to accept the following nominating petitions: Stephanie Fidel and Corey Duclos as candidates for the Board of Education for the 3-year term beginning 7/1/18 and ending 6/30/21 as recommended by the superintendent. I will be abstaining from this vote.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6.5, I need a motion to approve the 2018-19 tentative administrative budget of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Education Services in the amount of $4,687,441, funded by $1,068,853 in expense by components plus $3,618,588 in earned interest and other miscellaneous revenue, and shall so allocate as a contingent expense its share of said administrative budget as apportioned in accordance with Section 1950 of the New York State Education Law and as recommended by the superintendent. The budget was reviewed with our board and also at the annual meeting for board members and administrators last week.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Douglas Guston of the Canastota Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Education Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1/18 through June 30/21 for the seat currently held by Mr. Douglas Guston. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 18th, 2018. Do I have to do these separately? Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Paul Lehman of Hamilton Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Education Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1/18 through June 30th, 21 for the seat currently held by Mrs. Terry Monty. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 18th, 2018.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you to Terry for doing that, and for Paul for stepping up in the future.
Agreed. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Thomas Hollingsworth of the Stockbridge Valley Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Education Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1/18 through June 30th, 21 for the seat currently held by Mr. Thomas Hollingsworth. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 18th, 2018.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just for the record, Tom is a former baseball coach for Hamilton Central School, and his children went to Hamilton Central
No.
School.
Thank you. Good information. All in favor? Item 6.7, I need a motion to approve the 18-19 transportation requests received by April 1st as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
I'll second.
There you go.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 6.8 superintendent search, okay. So this is a discussion item, and then we'll potentially take action on it. We're going to talk about the options for the superintendent search based on the March 1st public workshop that was held here, giving us options for moving forward with identifying a search firm to conduct the search for us. And a request for proposal was submitted to us by the school's attorney. And I just want to go through it and see if anybody has any questions. And then we could talk about it, potentially adopt it, and create a timeline. So,
Stephanie, before you do that,
sure.
the reason why we're doing this, just to reiterate from the meeting in the past, is there are two options. One is search firm, and one is using BOCES. And as we go through this, we see that there's an option to back out of this request for proposal at any time. But these are our two options to get us started. I thought it was important to bring that up since there was actually nobody here at that meeting.
So we could go through it page by page. We can kind of talk about it. This is what has been sent out in the past for search, for RFPs for searches. So does anybody have any, initial comments on it, and maybe kind of open the floor to discussion?
I think it was very straightforward. I think it gives us a good starting point. I like the fact that there's a place for us to back out and go towards the BOCES option if we feel that's the direction that we need to go, but I think it's important for us to look at options, and this gives us that ability to do that.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, I know that before I was somewhat critical or asked to see more. To see more in RFPs, because in the past I thought we needed to control the scope of what we're asking for, and this one does a very good job of doing that. It gives the scale and the scope, it explains exactly what we're doing and what the parameters are of that. So I think this is a good way to move forward.
Okay, thank you. There are some sort of blank spaces we need to fill in, and we need to talk about them. For example, on page 2 of 5, in the response section, any interested party is requested to notify the district representative in writing no later than some date of its desire to be considered for retention by the district, so we need to talk about that. Also in item 4, the board anticipates conducting interviews with a number of interested parties during the final weeks of blank. We need to identify that. And the last page. The proposals need to be received by. So I think we need to kind of set up that timeline. I think ideally Debbie could probably guide us a little bit on the timelines of when these can go out, and what's feasible and realistic for you to be able to field the responses.
So you can set a date whenever you want to start the RFP search. So you would just let me know, we would do a legal notice. Really, I just need 24 hours. And then the legal notice gets posted every Thursday. So if you tell me tomorrow, I can't do it until next week. So I kind of turn around and get it into the papers. So turnaround, that's completely up to you. I would think probably at least a good 2 months to get the RFPs in. So they have time to actually put the whole document together for your review. And then you can set a time then when you have a special meeting or do it at a meeting and you can open up the RFPs. So I'm thinking,
So 60 days.
60
Okay.
days. Maybe 60 days.
All right, well, then maybe let's just start the discussion there, and let's see what everyone's thoughts on that is.
I don't see why we wouldn't start it sooner, so next week sounds reasonable, but I don't know if there's a reason why we wouldn't.
Next week's break.
Break, yeah, I was gonna say it's break.
So
Or just, it's you.
She has to post it.
I have to post it, so if I can probably try to get it done by this Thursday and get it submitted, it would be all right, I can get it done for next Thursday. However, I don't know what my week's going to be like yet next week, because I didn't decide if I'm working or not.
Okay, could we possibly shoot for May 3rd then?
Yes.
As this, okay.
Well, we can shoot for next Thursday and I'll see what I can
Okay.
get done this week.
All right.
But if not, the latest would be the following Thursday.
Okay, so, yeah, the latest 3rd.
Mhm.
Does that seem like a problem with that?
You're supposed to no later than May 3rd.
Post no later than May 3rd. All right, and then, that item 4, the board anticipates conducting interviews with a number of interested parties. That would be of the search firms,
Yes,
potential search firms.
yeah.
The final weeks of 60 days from,
Yeah, you probably want to tie it into a special meeting. I would
So it would
think.
be mid-July.
July.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because July, we have to have
The
our
org
first
meeting.
meeting within the first 15 days of July.
Can we just say July, then, we can say July
Mhm.
9th?
If you say, yeah, you can say July 9th, but is that when you're going to set your reorg and regular meeting? That's a discussion that the board has to have. We can go beyond that, but it's up to you whether, how many meetings you want to have.
I think it should go a little later to make sure that it's after the board meeting.
Okay.
Want to do that?
You want to when?
I would think that we'd want to do, if we're doing interviews of the search firms, we'd want that to happen after the reorg.
Okay, so maybe we say
And what are your vacations?
July 16th, that's probably safe. And then all proposals must be received by,
30 to 60 days, right?
right. Okay. So. We could then.
So the- let's take-
July 3rd,
Okay, so how much time do we, are you?
60 days after.
Right, no, I understand that. Okay. And then a week or 2 weeks before July 16th, when we have to have RFPs.
Do we have to have a date on that last page?
Yes.
Yes, we do. So it would be,
So
July.
when you get RFPs in, what you'll do, we'll open the RFPs, you look at them, when they come in, there'll be a dollar figure on those RFPs. That's when the board needs to decide that they're gonna go their option for option number 2.
Mhm. so if we put July 2nd
Which is Monday. Yep.
on the last page of the form, that will give us enough time between, yeah, okay, so let's put July 2nd. That sound good? Okay. All right. So those are the only sort of pieces of this that we needed to fill in. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the request for proposals to engage in consultant services in connection with the superintendent search.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Item 6.9, school calendar. I know.
I may want to speak to this, well,
What?
I may want to speak to this a second, the calendar when you're ready.
Absolutely.
We,
I mean,
freaking up here. We have done extensive research into putting this calendar together with the BOCES, so we don't lose instructional time with the BOCES. We've also looked at the regulations of the state of New York and the proposed regulations that may come in July 1st of 2018. Rick and I have worked as diligently as we have known how to be sure this complies with the contract. And we have agreements if we're a little off somewhere that this calendar will work next year. But I wanted to point out that there was a lot done to get this to you. And we're recommending it to you.
okay, I need a motion to a motion to adopt the 18-19 school calendar as recommended by the superintendent. With thanks for their hard work. And Rick.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Right, Krista. In the middle,
Yeah, you forget all regs. Okay.
in the middle section, it says student days and staff days. I get the total days underneath each of those. What are the dates though? What does September 17th mean and October 4th?
There are 17 student days in September when you come. And there are 19 staff days.
Oh,
Because there are two counties.
I thought those were dates.
They're counted. Yeah, they're counted.
So that makes more sense.
Great. They're counted the number of days.
I couldn't line them up with the dates, so that's
Great.
Thank you.
It's a count.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Item 6.10, I need a motion to approve the monetary donation of $510 from the Hamilton Emerald Foundation with sincere appreciation and to increase the budget by this amount.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to publicly thank the Emil Foundation. It made it possible for the maskers to attend a workshop with Shakespeare in the Square Saturday. I went to the workshop. It was fantastic. This theater group does a brilliant job with high school kids. And I also went to the performance, and Naked Plug. This was the best play and the most fun. I laughed harder and longer than I can't remember since I lived in Chicago and I saw Steppenwolf Theater 20 plus years ago. This group is great, and they're going to come back next year, and you're all crazy if you don't go.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're moving on to section 7, items, information correspondence. The first are the administrator reports.
I'd like to wish our senior, or our language club and chaperones who leave Friday or Saturday for Europe. Mr. Hanson, Mrs. Hanson, Mr. Arquette, Mrs. Haskins, and Ms. Peach. And the 30-plus students that are going to fly to Europe and have a wonderful break. Thank you to Ms. King and Ms. Peach for organizing the trip. I think it's going to be wonderful.
Bill, on your report, you mentioned the art show.
Yes.
So in Bill's report, it mentioned the art show. This had to do with the middle school, high school art show. I attended that and the elementary art show, and both art teachers and all the students should be very proud of the work that they did. It was amazing to see all the school's artwork up, but to see the amount of art that was up by our Hamilton students and the quality was spectacular. So thank you.
And I guess I'm going to go along with that. I went to the Madison BOCES Community Program Showcase, where all the groups who were in our BOCES had student presentations, and we were represented by Michaela Jones and Kaylin Rowe and Ms. Bossard, showing off our ag program and especially ag tech. And it was enormously impressive. Our students and the other ag students, their speaking abilities, their comfort in dealing with adult strangers. The whole program was very nice, and our students did a terrific job. So kudos to Mrs. Bossard and our students.
Chris, in your report, you were talking about the replacement schedule for the iPads. I just want to say thank you. This is something that we've been asking for as a replacement schedule, and I think it's exciting to hear that we're on getting one, and that will happen for the school for all pieces, not just iPads, but it's exciting to see that there's actually going to be a plan for that.
I'll do my best with Kevin's report. He had a family opportunity this evening, so I said, go ahead, Kevin. I know he was very, very proud of the staff and the turnout at the Family Literacy Night. And Kevin is focused on the part of his population with the economically disadvantaged. And he saw it as he didn't get as many parents out as he wanted to. I saw it as he got some pretty good participation from parents that night. So, Science, Innovation, and Technology Fair is April 19th from 5 to 6:30. I think Amanda is leading that, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's an Elementary Wellness Day, June 15th. The drama production, publicly want to thank Sarah Zogby and Nicole Polakowski, I guess Allison Lundell. It was very, very, very well done. As far as this, some data, again, with the economically disadvantaged, Kevin is really looking at that population and trying to work with it. My understanding is that our participation in ELA was actually around 73% or 77% participation. Somewhere between 73% and 77% participated. That is up for our ELA. They've been modifying the test. They're down to 2 days, I believe, for ELA, 2 days for math. And there's looking, I think, next year, looking toward a computer, or not computer, teacher generated questions and so on, and they're asking for teachers to help with those tests. There was a computer, we were not involved with computer-based testing, so the crash that occurred did not affect those sort of kids. Threw my daughter for a loop in North Syracuse. Third grade kids in the middle of their essays. So I'm glad we did old-fashioned paper and pencil like me, instead of computers. So, I think I covered his report the best I could. The rest I would be making up. So. I don't want to make anything up. Jeff, I don't know if you have anything to add to
That's not here, it's scheduling time. Yeah. So it's trial by fire. I get to work with staff and then the administrators on scheduling and getting that set up for next year. I enjoy it. It's kind of nice not doing the whole master schedule anymore, just doing a portion of it. The big part of it is what you saw tonight with the budget report, so we know the staff are dealing with, set everything up. So staff has just been very accommodating, working with them as we develop that schedule out.
Okay, thank you. Item 7.2, Mr. Ponzo's first superintendent's update.
Nothing in writing, nothing on the computer. I've been here now 5 weeks and 2 days, and I gotta tell you, it seems like it's been 6 minutes. It has flown by. I feel very, very welcome. Tried to get to meet a number of you the best I could. I want to continue to meet more of you and work with you closely, I hope. 2 things happened when I first started. Actually, 3 things. One was to play How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So my wife and I were able to come and meet a number of people and to see the tremendous talent of the students in the Hamilton district. Michelle worked with an elementary committee, and on our conference day on March 16th, we got together in the gym and we did a lot of fun activity that afternoon. That helped me a great deal to get to meet and to work with people. I enjoyed that very much. So again, I've really enjoyed the people I've worked with so far. It's not to enjoy, it's not to like. It's been really terrific. I think together we can do so much, we can accomplish so much. So we'll keep trying to all grow in the same direction. That's the goal. Future things, a couple of things coming out. Implementing the strategic plan. I believe all the people who have come forward have been approved by the board now. We have I think you got a communication whether you were approved or thinking of being approved. We're going to meet the evening for 1 hour on April 30th. And I think there's a way to, we'll get together and I'll show you then. I think there's a way to put people together in where they were when they developed the plan to maybe implement it. And so there might be a way to structure this so that small groups can go forward and want to start achieving some of those goals in the plan. We have begun a conversation regarding our facilities. I believe we've done a capital project, and I don't want everybody to think, oh goodness, what's this guy doing? I think we have to take a look at some things for our building. So we have started some conversations. Matt and I started to talk, and I involved Craig today, and we met with our architects and just put some things out that maybe aren't very, very sexy or glamorous, but they're things like the roof. And I get so nervous. We start getting water in our school, and education goes right. You fixate that water in your school. It's not a good thing. So we got to look at the roof, and we're looking at some other things, and we'll just go forward. Eventually, we'll get more input into what we're doing. But I think today we just had to start with, hey, you guys start to look at this, because you're looking at 2 to 4 years before everything's completed. by the time we vote. So, the other thing is, again, those of you who met me, I do want to work together to try to make things better. I would hope that we can work together to try to resolve things at the level it should be resolved. In other words, if there's a situation or concern from a parent, let's say, with his or her child, and you as a teacher, I would want that to be worked out, resolved or impacted or affected at the teacher level. And then if things don't work out, we'll get to the principal level, and if that doesn't work out. And I don't like the term chain of command, I really don't like that, but I would like to see things resolved to where they should be resolved. If it's something I did, I would like to have the opportunity to resolve that, not have the board, you know what I'm saying? So if we can kind of do that, that'll help us. And I'm a person who tries to respond timely, in a timely way. So if you have questions, I'll get back to you. Even if it's an I don't know yet, I'll find out for you. Sometimes it's an answer that's yes, we can do that. Sometimes I will respond, no, I don't want to do that. So, but I'll get back to you, okay? And that's it. Can we do okay?
Okay. As Matt mentioned in our budget hearing earlier at 5 o'clock, I'm just going to go through the sort of timeline as it stands right now. We had budget coffees that were held on April 5th and April 6th, as well as other dates in March, earlier in March.
March 1st or so.
Right, so, and Matt encouraged people to attend them. Coming up, yesterday was the petitions for the Board of Ed candidates, which were due by 4 o'clock. Today, again, was the 5 o'clock hearing. We adopted the budget. May 8th is the budget hearing at 6 o'clock, and that will be held in the auditorium. Also, May 8th is the Meet the Candidates night at 7 o'clock, directly following the budget hearing. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the candidates, kindly submit them to Debbie Curley, the district clerk, by 3 o'clock on Friday, May 4th, and all of these times will be listed on the website. May 10th is the Senior Citizens Breakfast at 8:30. And then May 15th is our regular meeting at 6 o'clock, along with the budget vote and school board election from 12 noon to 8 p.m. And voting will be held in the bus garage. So that's just all kind of information for you, everybody. Steering committees, elementary and secondary. Secondary didn't meet, but there's been some work done.
There has. We're in the final editing stages of updating our attendance letters, which are auto-generated from School Tool for certain periods of absenteeism. In those letters, the new language will reference chronic absenteeism in ed law for attending school. So we're in the final stages of producing those. Once those are done, we'll get your approval and then send them to Mindex, who runs our School Tool system. And they'll be uploaded into our system and auto-generated.
The elementary committee did meet. We reviewed the staff day that we held that Mr. Punzo spoke about. It was a great day had by all. All pieces of staff were included, except for the few people that had other trainings that they had already signed up for that we didn't know about as a committee when we picked the date. The day was great. It was great to see the staff working together with people that they don't work with on a regular basis. It was great to see them smiling and laughing, and I think it was a huge morale boost for everybody in the building. And hopefully, everybody's still smiling from that. The rest, we did talk about going forward with our committee, what we want to do for next year, and started to make some plans, and so there'll be more to come on that.
Okay, thank you so much. Item 7.5, as Mr. Punzo stated, the first meeting for the strategic plan implementation team, which also the members were, again, approved by the board at this meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 30th, when we get back from break at 6 o'clock in the high school library. Item 7.6. Do you want to speak to this? Okay.
It's information, it's
Yep,
information.
Yep. Item 7.6, we're going to take the unused snow day and apply it to May 25th.
And there may be another one, and again, working with Rick as we look toward the end of the year, but again, the way the weather's been, we might use it one.
No, please don't do that.
No, I'm kidding, we're not gonna use it. You never know, so we're still working on the end of the year, but we are gonna use it.
So we have a give back day on May 25th, so that's exciting. I think that's Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, it is.
And then the last item is a discussion item, Board Superintendent Public Communications by email.
By regular mail, communications to the board generally goes to the board clerk, so if something were sent through the postal service, the board clerk would open it and determine how the board would respond to that, and work with the superintendent administratively so we'd have a timely, appropriate response. I've looked into doing that the same way with email. In other words, the public will continue to be able to ask the Board of Education questions. Questions will go through the board clerk, and then we will respond in a timely way. So I'm going to let you know that the public will see anything differently. We'll still be sending mail to the board clerk, but we'll be able to respond to more information.
Okay, thank you. Last item is community participation.
Aaron Robertson, I have a question about the superintendent search. So I was on the board, we used BOCES last time. As part of what we pay BOCES, that is free to use. It's a free service once we've already paid. I'm wondering what the rationale for hiring somebody to do the search is. This is, it's like every other search firm, it's going to cost thousands of dollars. As you've seen, our budget is not running over with extra money. I've heard conspiratorial theory that BOCES influenced the last selection. That's unfounded and completely untrue. They compiled the candidates and gave them to us. So I really don't understand what the rationale is, and it would be nice to hear an answer.
Hey everyone, Travis Ames. Similar questions, a little bit different regarding the superintendent search. I wasn't able to make it to your workshop. Last I checked, it wasn't online, so forgive me if any of this was covered. I think I'm just going to play devil's advocate with a couple questions. If you can answer them now, that's great. If not, however, at least think about them. So yeah, you're contemplating using a search firm over using BOCES for the superintendent search. Obviously, that's your choice. I would personally kind of hope you go through BOCES. So it kind of just got touched on. What's the cost of using a search firm versus going through BOCES? I think I know the answer to that question, but you should be very careful with every penny you spend. So I think that's an important question to ask yourself. I wonder what it is about using a search firm that interests you more than using BOCES, especially what a search firm would offer you that justifies the money that you would spend on them. The last firm you went through was your strategic plan firm that you hired out. I'd ask you to kind of look at how happy you were with them and think about how happy you might be with a search firm for your superintendent search. And with the last superintendent search, that Jackie led, there were all different kinds of committees set up, community committees, parent committees, student committees, staff committees of different areas. So you've already talked about doing interviews and such. I wonder at what point will you look into getting input from all of those constituents I just talked about before even starting an interview, because those are questions that I would hope that you would have in the back of your mind, the concerns and things to look for. So that's just what I have for you. I really hope that you take a good look at why you might want to use a search firm rather than BOCES. I was a part of the last one in one of the committees, and BOCES does a fantastic job. And yes, I mean, you're very well entitled to your opinions on what, but I think a lot of what might have led to the candidates that came to the board at that time's door, I think, as I've told you before, is the stipulations in the contract. Like one of them was that the superintendent had to reside in the district. I think that was a bad idea. I think that could lead to the type of candidates. That's enough to throw people off. So if your concern was BOCES fed candidates that weren't to one's liking, I think that can be controlled more in the areas of the contract that you're proposing to future candidates. So I just ask you to take a really good look at why you might want to use a search firm rather than BOCES. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Hay. I would just like to follow up on both of those points and say that I really hope the community has an opportunity to be involved in the process from the initial stipulations, which my understanding is last time a PhD was a requirement, and I'm not sure why that's really necessary or not necessary. If that changes things dramatically, seems like there's a lot of community input to add, and I hope that there is at least one opportunity in this process early to receive it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We need to, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session. Yeah, for the two reasons are HTA and SEIU pending current negotiations, and two matters regarding the employment history of a particular individual. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Not discussion.
And we also
Okay, we are back in public session. I need a motion to take off the table the motion to approve the appointment of Michelle Dye as a probationary part-time .9 FTE teacher aide effective April 18th, 2018 through June 30th, 2018 as recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
You right here? Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, now we have to,
We'll wait to vote.
no, that just took it off the table.
We need to vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I need a motion to approve the appointment of Michelle Dye as a probationary part-time .9 FTE teacher aide effective April 18th, 2018 through June 30th, 2018 as recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to ratify the agreement between the Hamilton Teachers Association and the superintendent dated July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2021 as recommended by the superintendent.
Move.
Second.
Discussion? Just want to thank everybody, thank both teams. I'm really, really thrilled to do this. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Move.
Discussion? All in favor?
And we will be taking no further action this evening.